control. Her gravity is all that I know. She's over me. She's over me. She comes with her hypnotic dance. She holds me here with only a glance. She's over me. She's over me. That's so gross.
It's always just weird.
That sounds like me at a soup buffet. That's all I got to say. Welcome, everybody. It is the Paranormal Portal. We are live. Eventually, we got live. We've been live all day, actually, but we are live now here on YouTube, and we've survived the great outage of YouTube 2020. There was some kind of turd hit the fan at YouTube earlier, and they were down. They were down for quite a while, as a matter of fact, but it looks like everything's mostly working. We had some setup issues with the show as well, but I don't know. I think we're as good as we need to be in order to do a show, but by we, I don't mean just me. I mean my good friend and co-host, Mr. Don Longbeard.
Tonight you can call me Left Eye.
I can call you Lefty.
Left Eye.
Call you Left Eye.
Left Eye.
Left Eye the guy.
They say there's an echo.
Is there?
Yeah,
Well, let me look into that.
Two settings going. Is that better?
Is that better? Is the echo gone?
Did it get better?
Yeah, I think it did. I think it got all better. Yeah, there was two of them lit up. I don't know just how this stuff works here. All this technology.
Technology.
Great to see you. Brent, reverb. That ain't no reverb. That was some echo. No, I had two mic lines running in the software is what was going on Titan. So it's just the way it works. Because, one mic just may never be enough.
That's true, yeah.
To capture the brilliance that is the Paranormal Portal. So
We already have two mics. You've got one, I've got one. That's enough, right?
I mean, I think I probably just need two.
Quadrupled it.
Just I'll have a presidential bank of microphones over here. Hey, everybody. No, we are live. This is our 2-hour show for Wednesday. We got a little bit of a late start just because we were wrestling with the technology ethers, and I think we've got everything about as sorted as we need to in order to go ahead and have a show. If you have any problems or issues, then let us know. I don't know what we can do on our end, but I think everything is good. I think it's all working. Y'all are seeing us, right?
They're seeing us.
They're seeing us.
They're
Good.
seeing us.
Okay, so that means we're officially on.
Yeah, they're not complaining they aren't seeing us.
Not that they would.
I don't know if they would. Yeah, exactly. What? Oh, we only hear their voices. Thank goodness.
Yeah, that's why they love the podcast on.
Faces for radio.
That's
exactly, yeah.
Right. That's why the podcast is so darn popular.
Wow.
But no, we are here and ready to get underway with y'all. Hope you guys are doing great out there. Thank you so much for being here with us. We got 2 full hours or 2-ish hours, wherever we end up with. But if you want to call in and be a part of tonight's show, you certainly can do that. The number is 720-923-0500. Again, 720-923-0500. Those are the numbers for fun here on the portal. And if you want to share something paranormal of your very own, please do.
Call for a good time.
For a good time, call. That's called the hotline, folks.
It's really hot in here.
He's got extra beard of love right up in here, ladies and gentlemen.
Tickle, tickle.
Oh, God. Oh, can't unhear that shit. I'm telling you. But anyway, that's what we got cooking here tonight. So other than that, I don't know about you, Don, but I think it's time to to fire it up. What do you think?
Let's do it.
Let's do it. All right, folks, there we are. We are live and underway here on the Paranormal Portal Wednesday show. Welcome. How was that? That was my radio voice.
Yeah, it was really connected. It had really great energy. I really liked the presentation. However, then this other guy started talking.
Oh, well, that's okay. See, that's the balance of the show, Don. There's a balance to it.
You bring it up and I bring it down.
Yeah, something like that.
Something like that.
Don't even know what to say.
Thank God.
But we have got a whole bunch of paranormal goodness to share with you guys tonight, and hopefully you'll be wildly entertained by the time we're done. If not, might be your fault. I don't know.
Congratulations.
It might be your fault. It might be ours. I don't know which way we're going to go with that. But
I'm going to go. It's never mind.
Don, I got some interesting science news tonight.
Did you really?
Yeah, absolutely. This is actually kind of exciting, ladies and gentlemen, because I think we all can relate to this issue. Actually, ladies and gentlemen, they have found a genetic link to diarrhea. Like there is genetics involved with this, and after several studies, they were able to confirm that diarrhea does run in genes.
Oh God.
Thank you very much. That's not the dumbest thing you've heard all day. I don't know what the hell you're doing.
Yeah, I don't know.
It runs in genes. Let's try it. It runs in genes.
I was sitting over here. I was going, I wonder if he remembers the joke. God, don't let him remember the joke.
I remember the joke.
Dang it. He remembered the joke.
I was telling John before that. I'm like, we got to do this one. This is hilarious. It runs in genes. There you go, ladies and gentlemen.
Oh,
a little double entendre there for you. Just getting into the night. Not too much of a reaction from the chat room there. That's
somebody said something about poop jokes.
Pam.
Hi, guys. I just got here and poop jokes are said. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, we can go full gutter in no time around here, ladies and gentlemen. We go full stupid in a hurry. And apparently you're just in time, even though you just got here. So.
Yeah, congratulations. You came in at the wrong time.
Yeah, Pam said it was bad. Sorry. I don't get paid for the humor, just for the record. That part's free. So just remember that as you're leaving.
Yeah. 2 hours later, I'm like, oh God.
Yeah, you
started with the poop joke.
You might actually lose IQ points just being here. I'm not sure how that works yet, but it's possible. It is possible.
Oh boy.
So anyway, we got some stuff to go over. You ready, Don?
Yeah. Let's do this. What you got?
I got an article here that I think is rather interesting, really. I think so. Anyway, I don't know what to make of it because there is pictures involved, ladies and gentlemen. I'm not quite as convinced as this person is, but I'll bring it to you anyway because that's how we roll here. This comes from animalien.com. It says, researcher found the ruins of an ancient building on Mars.
Oh.
It says, this astonishing conclusion was made by the famous virtual archaeologist Scott Wiring.
Virtual archaeologist.
Does that mean I'm a virtual starfighter then too? I'm a virtual warrior because I play Call of Duty. When he studied photographs of
Call of Duty.
I'm a virtual special forces Don.
Oh no.
I don't actually play it. It's just kind of funny in my head. So when he studied photographs of the surface of Mars, it says, on the surface of the red planet, he discovered a certain structure that resembled the smooth walls of a man-made structure. The walls are interconnected, forming rooms. Here you go. Here's that. I don't know what kind of rooms they're working on here over and there, but according to the researcher, the discovered walls may be the ruins of a building belonging to an unknown ancient intelligent species. Waring draws people's attention to the uniform wall thickness. Nature could not create this. Wow. I don't know how you can get that conclusion. But anyway, this is 100% proof that there was life on the red planet. And the intelligent creatures that lived on it were small in stature, argues Scott. I think that's a huge leap to run to, hey, I found this really oddly uniform-looking structure, and it's really not that uniform-looking as far as as far as architecture is concerned.
Well, but see, human architecture is one thing. You know, apparently Martian architecture is something totally different.
Yeah, but even then, does that look like a house to you?
He said a building, not a house.
Well, does it look like a building to
It
you?
looks like a governmental building, or at least the way they should look.
I don't know. I mean, I'm gonna just leave that where it is because I don't see anything. I don't see anything that looks like it was planned here. I mean, there is the uniform thickness. I'll give them that.
No.
There is some of what looks like it could be a perimeter, but it could also be a root system for something. Roots are generally pretty uniform up to.
There's nothing to. That would suggest that it's.
I don't even know what scale we're looking
nature.
at. I'm right because I'm sure at some point there was active biology on Mars. I have no doubt
I
about
don't
that.
know. That looks like a toilet right there in the center of that.
Right
little
here. Never mind, ladies and gentlemen.
That's where we're heading.
That's we're gonna call that home base right there.
Home base.
There's the den right there, ladies and gentlemen. The study.
I'll go free. You know
I
what
don't
I
know.
mean?
I don't know. I just can't get my. I do believe this looks peculiar here.
It looks like a hallway or an
Yeah,
entryway.
I mean it could be. He could be absolutely right. I don't know. It just seems more. It seems more random to me than a planned architecture. You got these closed off and all these odd angles on the walls and stuff. I don't know. We're used to square structures and such. Maybe that is. Maybe he's absolutely right. But I don't know how you can look at this and say that this is proof of civilization. I can't. It's proof of some unique geology anyway. But
True.
you can find that there's places around that look like, the way that certain stones fracture look like they were hewn rocks.
Right.
And there's plenty of those places. Even off the coast of Japan, there's a place that some argue is an ancient site, and because it has these very right angles and stuff on the rock, but they've shown allegedly, and this is allegedly, but you got to look at both sides of this stuff, ladies and gentlemen, and they've shown that when that rock ages and fractures, it does fracture in very right angles, and so it does look like it's hewn into blocks, even though it's probably not, or could maybe not be.
Right.
And so you can't argue that could never be, because there's a lot we don't even understand about our own planet. Now we're taking pictures of a whole different planet with a whole different geology.
Yeah.
And we're claiming that, all the rules are the same. And maybe they're not.
Well, I wonder where he gets a sense of scale too, because
that's
if
what I'm
people
wondering.
on Mars were so short,
How diminutive. What is the scale on this? There's so much that we don't know. And I don't know what this is a picture of. Is it an airborne picture? Is this a rover picture? And if it's a rover picture, are these like insect-sized people then? You know what I mean?
That would explain the architecture.
Yeah, exactly. If it was more insect kind of things, then yeah, that could look like a hive or something that was eroded over time.
Yes.
I don't know. I don't know what we're looking at here, but anyway, I thought that was interesting. It's definitely food for thought.
It's definitely alien architecture.
Yes, I guess that's true. It is.
Yeah.
Whether it's intelligent alien or just alien, it's architecture. There is that. Could just be. What are those foliarite? Isn't that when the lightning strikes and leaves those weird branches in the ground?
Right, the glass.
Right. So maybe that's what we're looking at here. Maybe this is a foliarite.
But that would
on Mars.
suggest atmosphere.
Well, yeah, but there was eventually apparently an atmosphere.
There will be again.
Once we get done there.
Dang it. We're going to terraform it.
If Elon Musk has anything to say about it,
Oh my gosh. Yeah.
This will be on our way.
Let's all get Starlink and get 5G.
Absolutely. we all need 5G.
Yeah.
You got it right here in this house right now.
I know.
Yeah. my new router has the 5G. I haven't noticed anything weird. I haven't.
Have you noticed weird etchings on your wall? Do trees not grow in your house? You might be a victim of 5G poisoning.
Do you constantly have a dull headache?
Yes.
Actually, I did have a headache for a couple of days, and I was thinking about, is that 5G? No. But then it cleared up, so it was just probably sinuses. But anyway, that's on the top of the pile tonight, ladies and gentlemen. So we're off and running. I don't know. You guys will have to let me know what you think about that. Do you think that could be alien architecture? Do you think that might be proof of an intelligent design and intelligent species having lived there? Now, I have no problem with the idea that there was intelligent species on Mars, and perhaps even we springboarded from there to here. I mean, I'm cool with all that. I think that there's a whole lot that we don't understand about our distant past. Again, getting back to the fact that we are not built for this, this place here. We're not built for this. We have no natural means of survival other than we can build stuff. Otherwise we'd be toast. But so I don't know what the hell we were built for, really. But
I guess I would be called Gone Johnson by then. Gone Johnson.
Yeah, you could be. Yeah. I don't even know what that. No, I think that maybe we did come from somewhere else. If we weren't engineered, as the old Anunnaki sayings go, maybe we did come from somewhere else, and not necessarily that Mars is so temperate and perfect for us either.
Right.
But there does seem to be signs there that something went really wrong a long time ago.
Well, what was that movie with Gary Sinise? And they went to Mars, and they had to go rescue Don Cheadle's character.
Don Cheadle?
Don Cheadle, yeah, that was it. Mission to Mars.
Yeah, maybe, yeah.
That was so, and so that was kind of the thing, is that there was intelligent life there, and that's why the face on Mars is supposedly there, and that the story, they blew up their own planet and escaped to the cosmos, and some of them landed here. Yep. And we evolved from them.
Sure. And I'm good with that.
Yeah, I can.
I don't think that that's unbelievable completely. It's a pretty fantastical idea, but is it beyond possibility? No.
No.
So is this proof? I don't think so necessarily on its face value. Again, I'm not opposed to the idea of intelligent life having lived there. I just don't know that this is a sign of it.
Right.
So let's find something else to talk about, shall we? Because we got more, Don.
Did somebody get married? They're talking about
Titan was at a wedding
Oh.
recently.
Well, I know MCAT was.
MCAT was too. Yeah, that's right.
His niece.
Yeah. Well, MCAT was and Titan was too.
Oh.
So I'm not sure who got married, but congratulations
to the happy couples.
Yep. Whoever they are, we wish you the best
from the
Paranormal Portal. Yep.
I don't know if that worked. I don't know if that's a good blessing or not, but we'll see. Well, Titan's daughter got married. Oh, okay.
Very cool.
Excellent.
Very
wow.
Cool. Well, congratulations to you and the family. I hope everything goes wonderful or went wonderful, and wish them the best.
When are we getting
future.
our pieces of cake?
That's right.
Here you go.
these
pretty fragile sticker on it.
These cake burritos that'll show up. This guy smashed.
I'll just roll them up.
Yeah. Put them in a baggie and throw an envelope around them, and we'll call it a day. Here's something that I think was interesting, ladies and gentlemen. Now, you'll always hear these things come up in, especially in esoteric and holistic conversations, having to do with occult ideas and practices. And this is about talismans. And I thought, this would be kind of cool. Let's discuss talismans. And specifically magical talismans in this case. So this is coming from animalien.com, and it's just a quick little descriptor of what a talisman is, just to, give you guys a little something here. It says, dating back to the days of ancient Egypt and Babylonia, a talisman is an inanimate object, symbol, or drawing which is said to possess supernatural powers. A common talisman is an engraved metal disc featuring astrological or magical figures. Generally speaking, there are three ways talismans get their power. One is through nature, which can be associated with some form of gem. Another is through the power of the gods or supernatural entities. And the last is derived from some form of magic. Many objects are considered to be a talisman. For example, the magical sword of King Arthur is alleged to be one, as well as magic wands. In Jewish tradition, the tefillin was seen as a talisman. And many claims have been made with so-called energy, that a talisman is said to possess. With some tied to astrological signs, the talisman of Venus is credited to forming strong bonds of love and with wives and husbands. It is also believed to change an enemy's thoughts of hatred into love.
I like how they use the pluralized version of wives.
And for those involved in business transactions, the talisman of Mercury is believed to bring prosperity to a business. And in addition, it allegedly prevents death by poison or murder.
Wow.
The talisman of the sun is said to prevent heart disease or an aneurysm. And how do you use a talisman? The most common ways to use a talisman is to wear one around the neck. This can be in the form of jewelry. Pieces range from low end costs to high quality pieces made of gold and diamonds. However, jewelry isn't the only way to use this special type of charm. Take a gemstone with the special qualities and carry it around in your pocket. To enhance the power of the gemstone, hold it in your hands and meditate on it. Find a quiet location, close your eyes, and take long, deep breaths while envisioning the stone in your mind and the powers associated with it. The use of a talisman is said to be able to acquire wealth and power. How true are all these claims? Well, that would depend on who you ask. With the use of these items through the man's history, there are many who absolutely believe in the power associated with talismans. On the other side of the coin will be skeptics and debunkers who will claim there is no type of scientific evidence to back that these talismans even work. Talismans are known for many things, including help with relationships, medical powers, as well as supernatural powers. Considered magical by some, these objects or symbols are credited to everything from a successful love relationship to the medical prevention of certain illnesses. There it is.
Scroll back up to the top of the story itself, because it ended up talking, go down a little bit. Yeah, right there. It says, generally speaking, there are 3 ways. Oh.
Talismans get their power. Yep.
No, scroll back up. Sorry. It says right there, a common talisman is engraved metal disc.
Yeah.
A common talisman.
Mm-hmm.
So my quartz is not common?
No,
Cool.
well, that's a specific kind of one.
Wow.
So the gemstones or semi-precious gems would be a different kind. But what they're talking about is in many practices, like, for instance, the abracadabra talisman was the word abracadabra, and then the next line just abracadab, and then minus letter, all the way down and forming a triangle. And that was engraved on something and worn around the neck and was considered a powerful
I
talisman.
didn't know that.
Yeah.
Huh.
So that's I mean, there's many different kind. That would be a crafted kind. The gemstone kinds have their own innate ability or properties attributed to them, and then there's the combination of both. So I don't know. I mean, it's up to you.
It's crazy.
It's up to you what you want to believe, but
crazy.
those are talismans. So I thought we'd take a minute and just discuss that, because I oftentimes, especially when talking about spirits and stuff like that, we'll talk about talismans or charms or things like that, and I've never really elaborated on what that was, and I saw this little article. I'm like, well, that's a cool way to just kind of put it in a nutshell. Now, whatever you believe in is fine. I mean, a talisman it's an object of some kind of belief or faith, and I'm not saying it's a religious object so much as if you believe something is powerful, it becomes powerful. And so that's my point with these things. And so there are traditional symbols and properties that are attributed to certain things. And then there's just personal, I mean, if you collect just a rock and that rock feels special to you, that can become a talisman, in terms of, you feel it has something, so therefore it does, because we manifest.
Right.
So,
absolutely. So Heather in the chat says, in psychology, using an item to implant emotion is called transference. I've helped a person who had severe agoraphobia to be productive in society by using transference.
Oh, cool.
And let's see. She goes on to say, with a talisman that she had an affinity for. So that's cool. Yeah.
That is cool. Yeah. And again, it's the power of belief,
True.
right?
Yeah.
So anything can be powerful if you believe that it is. So I think that's pretty powerful stuff. Again, I think that the individual is the key for all of this. Like, if you have belief in something, then it becomes what you believe it to be. And that can be real or imagined. Yeah. Hey, Minion. I'm just saying hi. But there's a lot of things like that people embrace, and it could be even said that the religious symbols are a talisman of sorts.
It could very well be argued, and it would be very true in my opinion.
I would agree too. I mean, and some people say, well, that's blasphemy. It's a sign of the divine, but
it's a talisman. It's like the cross. The cross is a talisman. It symbolizes the sacrifice of Christ.
Right. Exactly.
So there you go.
it becomes a talisman just by it being an object that is attributed with certain properties.
Right, exactly.
So I think that that's powerful stuff, and and again, it's not my purpose or scope to try to take away from anybody or
Well, but we're
you
just using that as an example,
Right.
I mean,
yes, exactly. So very cool stuff, ladies and gentlemen. Lots more of this kind of stuff awaits you here on the portal. And if you're new to the show, we'd love for you to sign up and get subscribed. I hope you stick around if you're new and keep getting involved in what we're doing.
absolutely.
We are always at it here on the portal. If we're not streaming, Monday and Tuesdays are the only days we don't live stream. Otherwise, we're live streaming the other 5 days right here on YouTube at 7 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. And we have podcast as well that's available everywhere. And that podcasts are available, and you can download us. And
YouTube is not it's not the podcast.
yeah, I know, and I don't blame you guys because there's a lot of people screwing that up out there. They're like, "Hey, welcome to my podcast. Great to see you guys." And and it's not. It's a live stream, but traditional means that a podcast is an audio, and they can be video too. But this is not our podcast. This is our live stream show. So the podcast is actually different episodes completely.
I
90% of the
I
time.
love Farm. He's always putting up the supportal information.
The supportal.
He just threw up the podcast links. There you go.
know.
Excellent.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you.
Wow.
Thank you to to our mods who are always posting that information. But we'd love for if you're new to the show to become involved. We'd love for you to stick around. But anyway, that's Talismans, ladies and gentlemen. Moving along. I saw this. I haven't read it yet, but I was like, "Ooh, I should read this on the show." It's not necessarily paranormal, ladies and gentlemen, but it's definitely definitely one of those that'd be like, "Oh my God," and
Quite literally.
quite literally, think of Jonah.
Yes, exactly.
Think of Jonah. Speaking of biblical, here we go, ladies and gentlemen. This is from animalien.com as well, or no, this is unexplained-mysteries.com. 2 kayakers almost swallowed by a whale. Oof, that would have been bad. 2 women had been kayaking off the coast of California when they were almost ingested by a humpback whale. Oh, my God. In a scene that wouldn't look out of place in a movie, the 2 women, Julie McSorley and her friend Liz Cottrell, had been watching whales while kayaking off of Avila Beach, when a massive humpback whale suddenly rose up out of the water directly beneath them, grabbing their kayak in its mouth.
Oh, my.
God, that would be a horror story, wouldn't it?
It would.
Oh, those poor women. The spectacle was filmed from multiple angles by their friends who had been situated nearby. Fortunately, both women were thrown into the water and did not end up inside the whale's mouth. Wow. Oh, God. I thought, oh, no, it's too close, said McSorley. All of a sudden, I lifted up and I was in the water. I'm thinking to myself, I'm going to push like I'm going to push a whale out of the way, Cottrell added. I'm thinking, I'm dead. I thought I was going to land on me. Next thing I know, I'm underwater. The incident emphasizes the importance of keeping a safe distance when out whale watching. And ladies and gentlemen, for your viewing pleasure, here we go. I'm just going to kill the sound.
Oh, wow.
Oh, dear God.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, that's not the way you want that to end.
That's not.
Look at those 2.
Oh, my gosh.
What did that thing? Did it spit out the kayak? Good deal. I was just thinking, man, that's going to be a bowel to move. Oh, can you believe that? Those poor ladies. Oh my God. That guy's backpedaling. He's like,
Look at that.
Yeah.
Oh, my goodness.
That whale. You know what I was thinking right away? I was like, oh, oops. Both women
Doesn't
are okay.
taste like pork.
It doesn't taste like krill.
What the heck was that?
Yeah. Oh
was
my
that-
God. Look at those.
No,
This is
that's
them.
one of theirs. Yeah.
This is their picture. Oh.
Oh, so the whale was chasing a pod.
Yeah, it was
and it
chasing
came
some
up
krill or
underneath.
something.
Yeah.
Wow.
Crazy.
Look at that. Oh my God. You'd be so happy to see the daylight.
Oh, yeah.
Oh my God. Wow.
This doesn't look like the inside of a whale.
She didn't even lose her. What is she filming with her phone?
She might have had a GoPro.
That could be. Wow. There you go, ladies and gentlemen.
Crazy.
That's what it would be like, kind of, to be eaten by a whale, except without actually being eaten. So be careful out there if you're whale watching, everybody. Because, it's important to know these things, and knowing is half the battle.
Admitting you have a problem.
G.I. Joe. That's G.I. Joe.
Yes, yes, yes.
Knowing is half the battle. Okay.
That's correct. Yes.
All right. I thought it was funnier in my head.
Waiting for Captain Planet.
It's a whale of a time.
Oh, God.
God.
Oh, jeez.
Wow, that was pretty dry. I got to take a drink after that.
That was worse than the salt water.
Yeah, no kidding. I feel suddenly dehydrated. Yay, thank you.
Oh, wow.
All right, so that was something of the new and unusual anyway. But we got some articles I want to get to tonight, including some from our very own good buddy, Mr. Brent Swanser.
Oh, yes.
Yes, but
he is just an epic writer. That guy, he just puts out so much.
He does, and it's very good stuff. You know, it's not like this is the other thing I wanted to talk. I was wondering about keeping this till Friday though. What do you think? For the Freaky Friday stuff?
Yeah, that'd be a good one. I think.
I'll keep that till Friday.
For the Kevin show.
So, just to let you guys know, on Friday night we are doing a crossover episode with Freaky Friday, which is another show on TFR and YouTube, and we're going to start with them at 3 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. I'll be here. Don will be coming as soon as he can.
3 p.m. Oh my gosh!
I think it's Is it?
No, because it's 4. It's 4 because
4
it's
p.m. Pacific.
5, 6, 7, and
Yes.
then we're the show after. Yes,
Right.
4.
So 4 p.m. Pacific time. We're going to be joining them, and we're going to be broadcasting with them for 3 hours on their show. After which, we're going to be done with them, and they're going to come over and join us for 2 hours of the Friday Paranormal Portal. So
Whoa, can you imagine 5 hours of us?
We've done it before.
Yeah, I missed Kevin's portion of it though that night.
That's true.
Yep, I had to work.
Yeah, Don had to work, but you will be here for at least part of this one.
Yeah,
and
see what I can do about getting
Yeah, absolutely. So I hope you guys will join us. It'll be an epic time. Of course, Freaky Friday. That's Kev Baker and Scotty Lopez, and I don't know. Sometimes Naysay's been on there lately, so he might be among us.
Joseph James, Joseph,
Joe. I think Joe is. I think they're. I don't know. I haven't watched him for a while, so I'm a little out of touch whether Joe is still on there. I imagine he is because he's a big part of that as well. But in any case, we will be joining them. They will be joining us. It'll be 5 full hours combined, so it's kind of like a Portal marathon. If you want more of the Portal, that would be a great way to get more.
And of course, that's the Friday the 13th episode.
That is Friday the 13th. We do crossovers. We did one early in February, wasn't it? We did February one with them, wasn't it February?
I think it was February, yeah.
That was the last Friday the 13th, I'm pretty sure. Or maybe it was March. But anyway, February or March, we did one with them. And then we decided that every Friday the 13th, we'll do this collaboration show with them. Because they got the Freaky Friday going on for 3 hours. We got the Portal going on for 2. And madness ensues.
Yeah.
So there you go. But that'll be coming up this Friday the 13th. So I hope you guys will join us. Hey, Christy. Good to see you. Christy Sci-Fi. Don, who's here?
Yeah, I was just wondering about that myself. So if you're not chatting right now, you're not going to get a shout out. So let's just get this going. Excuse me. We'll start alphabetically with Aaron, Aussie Tiger, Cookie Chris Jarvis, Ms. D's here, Drake C, how you doing? Our friend Elaine is here, Ethan, Heather's here, Hilton Whittlewood, Pam is here, Christy Sci-Fi, hi Kylie, how are you? Linda's here, Mary Bond, is that Mary Jim Reeves? Mary Jim, is that it? Mary Jim? I don't know, I'm so sorry. Murray Fisher's here. Nessie from New Zealand's here. Overbuilt Automotive. Mr. Paranormal Portal. Also, let's see here. Suzanne's here. Pharmacy's here. And Mr. Titan is here. There you go. Oh, Crow Creek. Tony with Crow Creek Cryptid has just popped in. All right. And let's see here. Did I get everybody I see? Isaac. Isaac is here. Justin's here. Kirsten Lee. Yep. And I believe Ken Rotman just popped in. So there's
Ken.
that.
Good to see you, Ken.
All right. Well, there's the shout outs tonight. Let me see if I missed one. Nope. They're all there. All right. That's our favorite peeps right there.
And now back to you.
Back to me, you mean.
Treat this
back
like a
to
newscast.
you, Brent.
Thank you, Don. Now,
Brent with the most ridiculous things of the day.
In other news, we got to treat this like a news program. In other news,
I'm getting ticker across the bottom.
Yeah, exactly. To the NASDAQ and stuff. Yeah. All right. So here's an article from our very own Brent Swanser, ladies and gentlemen. Again, most prolific paranormal writer out there. Just amazing guy. The thing that I love about his work is that he goes like 15 layers deep on everything. Yeah. Like, when I look into a story, I find some stuff, put it together, and then I mention it on the show. When Brent Swanser finds stuff, he goes he researches it. He goes on the deep dives on all this stuff and comes back with amazing information. It just baffles my mind.
Yeah.
I asked him that in a comment after I came across when he mentioned that he did the Malaysian UFOs.
Yeah, the tiny UFOs.
I was like, how do you find this stuff?
And what'd he say?
Oh, he just did the smirk. He
just
did the coy smirk on the the emoji. Like winky face. It's like, wow. Yeah, he digs deep, folks, and he pulls it out for sure. It's amazing information. He's a regular contributor to mysteriousuniverse.org, which is a fantastic site. And other authors are on there too, like Nick Redfern, the famed cryptozoologist and author of his own right. And it's really cool. So I really appreciate their willingness to let us talk about their material. Thank you again, Mr. Brent Swanser. Okay, so what we're talking about tonight now this is kind of creepy stuff.
It's always creepy.
Well, it's really creepy because it's very strange cave encounters with the unexplained. And now I often wonder, what is down there? What's in these places? Because one thing you can be sure of about this world, and even in some of the most inhospitable places possible, there's some kind of life there. Mm-hmm. Even in volcanic vents on the bottom of the ocean, where the temperature is several hundred degrees Fahrenheit of this water, there's life. There's bacteria that are somehow immune to that extraordinary heat and can survive and thrive.
Well, and that the reverse is true too, because down in the deepest trenches where it's the coldest in the ocean, there's life. Yeah.
Well, that's my point. It's just like even in places where you wouldn't think it would be possible.
Right.
Like under that crushing pressure of the like the Mariana Trench or or the volcanic vents where it's just too hot.
Right.
You'd think it would just be sterile, but it's not. There's still life there. And so I find that wherever there's a place on this planet, there's some kind of life. And we may not even know about it now. Like even in severely alkaline and acidic places, there's some kind of life, and it's crazy. So life finds a way. So that's the thing. But how big is that life? And you don't know. It could be huge life, could be little itty bitty life. You don't know, but something's going to be there. So this is what always concerns me about the deep places like the caves and stuff, because this is a completely alien place to us. No lights, none of the normal stuff that we're used to. But let's see what he says. He says, of all the places that lend themselves to spooky tales of the strange, caves and caverns most surely rank high. After all, these are realms and domains hidden away beneath the earth, under our feet in that dank darkness we rarely even think about. These are places of eternal blackness, untouched by the light or the outside world, forever behind in shadow, or forever bathed in shadow and little explored. And it seems as though it should be of no surprise that these gloomy places have managed to draw in reports of something very bizarre. And here we will look at some of the weird reports of strange creatures, aliens, and others lurking deep below, down in the ground. This is a really quite strange encounter. Comes to us from the site Phantoms and Monsters and concerns an eyewitness in, Gmunden, Austria? I don't even know how to say that, GM.
Go with it.
Gmunden, Austria. The witness calls himself Gregor, and says this happened to him while he was exploring at an obscure cave in an area of Upper Austria that is traditionally known for its vast salt mines. Gregor describes himself as a seasoned caver who has explored caves and caverns throughout Austria, the Czech Republic, and Poland since 1988. So he was not new to this, and was very experienced. In May of 2011, he claims he was in a narrow, treacherous cave that had only recently been discovered in the range of foothills near the east bank of Hallstatter Lake. As he made his way through the still darkness, he claims that he heard voices in the shadowy gloom ahead, which stopped just as suddenly as they had begun before he continued on his way. Wow. He said those passages were at some point so narrow that he had to crawl through them, and as he did, he intermittently heard these voices, although it sounded like murmuring with no clear words. After some time, he came to a large chamber which had openings and tunnels so smooth that they looked as if they had been carved out by some vast machine. In this chamber, there was a very definite stench of what smelled like rotted meat, and there was an odd red iridescence to the floor. When he passed his light over it, as he examined the strange phenomena, things would suddenly get very bizarre and very frightening, and the witness says, when I knelt down to collect a sample, I again heard voices coming from one of the passageways, and at this point, I was terrified and started to hurry back through the narrow cave, and after I squeezed back several meters, I was able to turn my head just enough to look back into the dark chamber. A yellow light slowly made its way into the chamber from the left opening in the chamber, and there were several yellow lights following the first. As the lights moved through the opening under the chamber, then back through the opening on the right, I was able to see beings, and the sight sent fear throughout my body. I was actually paralyzed. The creatures were humanoid in stature, but these were not human. Each varied in height, but all looked the same, muscular lizards that walked upright like humans. And there was not a better term that I can use to identify these beings. These creatures wore dark-colored, full-body uniforms that extended and covered the feet. I couldn't tell the exact color of the skin, but each had a pronounced muzzle. The long tails were very prominent and swiftly swayed back and forth as they moved forward. The arms and legs were massive, and I could detect the musculature through the uniforms. And there were voices also as they were talking to each other. The voices actually sounded human, though I could not detect the language. There were possibly 20 or more of these creatures as they walked single file through the chamber and into the other opening. When I conceived it was safe to move, I quickly withdrew from the cave. I think I may have been in shock because I barely remember anything that happened from that point until I reached my office. I decided to keep a private journal regarding my encounter, but I have not discussed it with anyone else. My colleague, who originally found the cave, told me that he has explored the cave since my encounter, but never mentions anything about the chamber, other passageways, or bizarre beings. What was going on here? What were these things? Another case from Phantoms and Monsters comes from a witness who says this happened in the U.S. state of Missouri at the summer of 1995, and he describes himself as ex-military and says at the time of his bizarre experience, he had been living near Eldridge, Missouri, and had learned spelunking in the military and had taken it up as a hobby. So it was not unusual for him to go exploring the caves and tunnels in the area. And indeed, back at the time, he was involved with a spelunking group who explored caves and cavern systems throughout Missouri and Arkansas. On this day, he had been exploring by himself in a cave at Camden County, Missouri, which he describes as being very little explored or mapped. As he made his way through the gloom, he came across a series of chambers which he followed to what he assumed to be the end of a cave, and that was when he heard the odd rustling sounds coming from an opening near the top of the chamber he was in. He says of what happened next, I assumed the sounds were bats and didn't really pay much attention to it, but after a while I heard motorized sounds and talking. I stood and listened for several minutes, wondering what was on the other side of this chamber. The opening was about 10 feet above me, and I maneuvered my way up to the opening, which was flat and narrow, but big enough for me to get a decent look into it. As I positioned myself to the front of the opening, I started to see a light at the other end. The passageway was only a few feet long, but it was just too narrow for me to move through. As I looked through the opening, there was a very warm draft of air hitting my face. As well, the air had a very acrid vinegar-like odor. There was a large, very large, and well-lit room with immense walls. I noticed a small vehicle that looked like a golf cart but was very low to the ground and without wheels. I continued to observe until I started to hear voices that were getting louder and nearer. Something was making its way towards the vehicle. I had to rub my eyes because I didn't believe what I was looking at. This creature, because it was not a man, stood about 7 feet and had brown, scaly skin. The face and head were shaped like a human with a flat nose, but there were no ears or hair. The top of the head had a slight scaly ray or ridge that extended down to the back of the neck. From what I could see, it had lips and regular-sized eyes. The arms were very long and muscular with human-like hands. It also had a massive 4.5-foot tail that tapered to a point. It was dressed in a gold metallic outfit.
Gold lame.
What?
Sorry, keep going.
With long pants and shoes. It also carried an oval pack attached to its back. I watched as this thing was looking at something on the vehicle. I had high-speed camera, which I used to document my cave explorations. I was able to obtain a few distorted images of the being. For some reason, while I was taking photos, the creature stopped, and turned, looking my direction. I'm not sure if it heard me, but it definitely knew of my presence. It then made a terrible hissing sound as it continued to look in my direction. That was enough for me. I quickly started making a beeline out of the cave. When I reached the entrance, I was shaking and hyperventilating. I finally reached my vehicle and drove home, and I continued to explore caves in the area. I have heard stories of people encountering strange underground beings, but I've never disclosed my experience. A few years after my experience, I went back to the cave, but was unable to get near it since the area was now government property. I can assume that I witnessed something that I was not supposed to see. It pains me to think what secrets are being kept from us. Yeah, that's for sure. A very strange account with some other sorts of human comes from 1978 in Toronto, Canada. Here, within the dark confines of the various networks of tunnels and caves under the sprawling metropolis, a 51-year-old man known only as Ernest had a strange and frightening encounter in August of that year. The witness claims that he had been out searching the neighborhood for a missing kitten from a litter he had been raising with his wife when he stumbled across a tunnel entrance and decided to get a flashlight and investigate where it led, perhaps to even find his missing cat in the process. He claims that he penetrated around 10 feet into the murk and suddenly came across a creature that looked somewhat like a long, thin monkey around 3 feet in height with large teeth and covered in gray fur. The unsettling eyes, which peered out of the darkness from deep sockets, were described as being bright orange and slanted, and to make the whole ordeal even more horrific, Ernest reported that the creature actually spoke to him.
Oh.
He would say of the odd events, "I saw a living nightmare that I'll never forget. It said, 'Go away, go away,' in a hissing voice. Then it took off down a long tunnel off to the side, and I got out of there as fast as I could. I was shaking with fear."
Wow.
Ernest would later grudgingly tell the Toronto Sun newspaper of his frightening experience after being encouraged by a friend to do so. And he refrained from giving his last name out of fear that he would be ridiculed. Staff from the Sun even went as far as to accompany Ernest to the location of his strange sighting on March of 1979, but they found that indeed there was the entrance to a cave at the end of the passageway between houses, which led into a narrow tunnel that dropped off into the gloom sharply and was surmised to lead to the unseen sewer systems down below. When they investigated the tunnel, they did not see any strange creature, but they did find the maimed carcass of a cat half buried in the ground. When sewer officials were questioned about what Ernst had perhaps seen, an employee gave another ominous statement.
Ooh.
"People who work on the surface just don't know what it's like down there. It's a whole different world. Who would have thought a few years ago that people would live in sewers? And yet that's what we found in New York a few years back. I don't know what Ernest saw down there. I'll tell you one thing. If we could get in there, I sure as hell wouldn't want to go down there alone." That's terrible. The so-called Cabbagetown Tunnel Monster is truly bizarre in that no other such reports like it has come in, and it's hard to say what the creature in question could possibly be, especially considering that it allegedly actually spoke. Concerning the witness himself, friends and family said that he was an honest and reliable man, not prone to making up small tales, and the Sun reporters who interviewed him said that he seemed earnest and honestly scared. reluctant to tell his tale at the time. What did he see down there, if anything? Well, we may never know. One idea is that the Cabbagetown tunnel monster could have been what the Cabbagetown tunnel monster could have been was not a tunnel dweller per se, but rather some cryptid from above ground taking refuge or shelter within the tunnel. The region where it was sighted has long had accounts from the natives of a race of small, hairy, smallish, hairy hominids that inhabited the area near waterways and were called the Mimiguisi, and perhaps something like this. This is the word, ladies and gentlemen, for those of you reading along. Mimiguisi, and perhaps something like this could have found a home down in the tunnel. We will probably never know for sure. From Cryptozoology News, we have an outlandish report from Hambien County in eastern Tennessee by a woman who claims she and her husband decided to explore a cave they had discovered on their remote rural property. She says that as they looked around at some of the chambers, her husband spotted a strange dwarf Bigfoot creature that stood 4 feet tall and was covered in thick brown hair, except for its face, which was hairless and very human-looking. She says of it, "We both froze in the shock state and took in each other's detail before I ran. I stood less than 2 feet face to face with it.
Wow.
He was as scared as I was. It can climb cave walls and freeze in place. The species could be a cousin of Bigfoot, but smaller. It had short legs, heavy paws with claws that are flattened on the end, a lot like a fisher's body with a human white man's face." Oddly, that same witness also reports that she found within the same cave a dusty old 16th century document written in Old Germanic, allegedly by Italian explorer Amerigo Vespucci, which is just about as bizarre as discovering Bigfoot in the cave. Another report that is really hard to classify was given by Reddit user Bryson64, who says he found something very unusual while exploring a cave he found on a camping trip to Flagstaff, Arizona. He went into the cave along with his wife and father-in-law, and things would soon get weird. The witness says, "I went into the cave and had to army crawl about 20 feet before hitting a large opening that had a drop too far, dark to see the bottom. While I was poking around, I held my small flashlight over the expanse to try and see what the other side of the cave, and there I saw what looked to be 2 feet long stalactites that were an off translucent white. When I attempted to look closer, my light died. I had my wife bring me a larger spotlight flashlight and shined it where I thought the stalactites were, and they were gone. I looked around the cave to see where they could have gone, and the moment I think I saw them, this new flashlight died. I asked my wife to bring up my cell phone as mine was dead from camping, and my father-in-law offered his, and I began to film the cave. I filmed for about 1 to 2 minutes, and then I thought I saw the creature again, and immediately the camera stopped filming on its own. It would have to be some sort of cave dwelling creature that is very silent and very good at climbing, and somehow has the ability to affect flashlights or cameras. It was very strange. We dubbed the creature Timmy the Tunneler."
Oh my gosh. Oh jeez.
Sounds like a kid's show.
Yeah.
Let's go see Timmy the Tunneler, kids. Yay. It says, "What is going on with reports such as these? What sorts of mysterious forces are at work down there? And what dank world beneath our feet, far from civilization and prying eyes? Are these things beyond our comprehension that stir down there in that perpetual darkness? There's no way to really know, and such stories and many others like them serve to merely intrigue and baffle. Whether creatures roaming about this subterranean realm are real or not, they certainly show that caves remain an almost primal force that have stirred our imaginations since time unremembered, and perhaps they always will."
Wow.
So interesting, though, right? What I think about, Don, is the reports, like, who was it, the Hopi? Weren't they rescued by a subterranean?
Yeah, so I was looking that up, actually, and
Okay.
I believe the Hopi talked about the ant people that took them underground, and then there was some kind of a deluge.
Yes.
So the Hopi talk about the ant people. Now, there's some references in First Nations lore about, and it seems to be regarding the Anastasi, um, about lizard-like people.
Okay.
But I really, off the top of my head, I haven't found anything. So, I was looking that up. So, because that's what it reminded me of when in the first story where they found the lizard person.
Right.
And so, it triggered those memories.
Yep.
And then the Mimigwisi,
Yep.
Mimigwisi, they're little people of the Chippewa.
Oh, okay.
So they're described as child size with and hairy with large heads and a strange voice that sounds like the whine of a dragonfly.
Huh.
So interesting because it spoke to him, the little 3-foot
Yes.
primate thing,
Yep.
and said, "Go away, go away." And
Right.
how did they describe him speaking?
It was in like a whispery or hissing.
No, yeah, it was like I think that's what it said.
Was that the sign?
It's right there, in a hissing voice.
Hissing voice. Yep.
Yeah. So interesting. So maybe that's what he bumped into there.
Right.
Now, also, especially when you read about the lizard person with the tail and the gold lame. In the gold lame, I could just think of like the 70s and the gold lame suits. Oh my God, they were horrible. But let's put that towards Phil Schneider.
Right.
And go with the idea that there are deep underground bases that are inhabited by possibly alien races.
Yep.
And one of the alien races that are supposedly on the face of the earth are the lizard
Lizard
men,
people. Yep.
lizard peoples.
Yep.
So there you go. So now there's those three. What was the third one? It was just talking about, or the fourth one. It was just talking about the camera.
Yeah,
And the
stalactite
flashlight,
looking
the
things, yeah.
stalactite. Oh, and then the 3-foot Bigfoot.
Yes. Yep.
So what did Cade call the short? Because he showed us that video of a
Was it a
diminutive, a bunyip. Yeah,
Was it?
That's
Okay.
right. I think that's what it was.
I don't know. Yeah, it's hard to remember. Ask Aussie or Ken too.
Yeah. So all of those stories, brought up these images of things that we've talked about in the past,
Mm-hmm.
and Star Trek episode with the reptoid and the gold lame. So it brought up all those stories that we've heard through the. So, yeah, that's quite interesting.
Well, it's just neat that these are accounts of people seeing things that are reported to be out there. I mean, it's not like these accounts are coming,
Right.
From just a complete unknown. It's at least, if there is truth to these stories, it's at least establishing a narrative that other people have started. Hey, I saw this weird thing. It looked like a lizard. I was in a cave. And then these people are bumping into something lizard-like
Right,
in a cave.
right.
The vehicles certainly do sound like a deep underground base.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
You
That's
know.
right. Because the one with the gold lame had a golf
Yeah.
cart.
Yeah, but there was no wheels. It was just flat.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
So how it was moving is
It's like a
unknown.
speeder.
Right. God, that stuff is so exciting because that would be the excitement of meeting another intelligent races.
Yeah.
How did you guys get around this stuff? What did you do? So we have a wheel. That was our big contribution.
Yeah. Yeah. A
to
wheel
moving.
and fire.
Yeah. A wheel and fire. So whenever we wanted to move something, we'd put a wheel on it.
And then we burn the crap out of it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and then we get into mud and be screwed.
Yeah.
But at least it worked most of the time. But how did they do it? What did they do to overcome these things, or what was their next step? If they did do the wheel, what was next? Where'd you go next with this? That's the kind of exciting things is the possibility to leapfrog just based on somebody else's understanding, and that's what I think we've done with a lot of the
Right.
recovered UFOs is just look at how they accomplish
Stood on
things.
the shoulders of giants.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly. And in the Anunnaki, that would be legit too. They were pretty tall, weren't they?
Yeah, they were
like
supposed
9
to.
feet tall.
They were supposed to be able. Yeah, they were. So if you go back to like Enoch and you go back even farther, Mephistopheles and things like that.
Mm-hmm.
What was Noah's grandpa's name?
Oh, I don't
Was
remember.
that was he? It was Enoch. Was it Enoch? No, Mephistopheles. It was
It was an M name. Yeah, I remember that.
So, but anyhow, back then, people were like 15 foot tall.
Right.
Yeah, they were huge.
Yep. Exactly. So I don't know, folks. Whatever you believe, but I think that again, here's the thing: there's every place on Earth has life. So why wouldn't these caves? And we can think, well, there's molds and there's fungi that grow. Well, it's more than that. There's not more than just
Methuselah. That's right.
Methuselah.
Thank you,
Yes.
Titan. Yeah.
Thanks, Titan. Yeah, Methuselah. But everywhere else has these things. Now, there can be, of course, small life, but there could also be a larger scale life
Right.
that somehow evolved or come about, being able to navigate this small, narrow little places. Maybe they can change their bodies and just pour themselves into the next room or something. I don't know. I mean, but the point is
It's a
that
fluke.
right, yeah. But the point is that life is everywhere. So even though this is life we don't understand or potentially don't understand, if it is indeed true, then there's a chance to learn and grow. I wouldn't want to go looking for it personally.
Right.
Because, I mean, your options are so screwed. It's like you either go forward or back. That's it. And,
You find out that diarrhea runs in the genes.
that's what they say, Don.
Science says so. It must be true.
We are using the scientific method, of course, here on the Paranormal Portal.
What is that?
What is that? So we've got more, ladies and gentlemen. Obviously,
boy.
we've got more. But this one,
It took an hour to come back around to that. Do you know that?
well, the best jokes have a cycle. Don.
And they do. Hopefully, it'll cycle out
It
soon.
just pays dividends over and over. Let's cash that check again, Don. All right. So here's another article from mysteriousuniverse.org. This one is, however, from Nick Redfern.
Oh.
And this one it sounds really cool because we love cryptids here on the portal. Obviously, we talk about them as much as we can. This one is...
Tony from Crow Creek says it runs in shorts, too. Oh, boy. Nitrous obnoxide.
Who said that?
D?
That's about right. That's a D joke for sure. That's a D joke for sure. She comes all the way from a different place, and it's hilarious. All right, so this is another one from mysteriousuniverse.org. This is from Nick Redfern, is the contributing author on this one. It's Monsters and Mysterious Beasts and the Tracks They Leave Behind. I thought this one would be fun to go over because Nick is no joke, man. He's been at this for a long time. And he's not only been writing and studying these things, but he's been out there doing it. I mean,
Right.
he goes out and actually investigates things and such. So Nick is the real deal. It says, over the decades, numerous people have reported seeing the tracks of the Bigfoot creatures, and across over much of the United States. It's a fact, though, that the hairy giants aren't the only ones to have left their tracks and markings behind, as we will now see. How about the Loch Ness Monsters? Well, let's take a look. In an August 4th, 2020 article titled Loch Ness's Trip Report July 2020, Nessie expert Roland Watson said of possible evidence of one of the monsters having left the deep waters and made it onto the land, albeit briefly, we assume. After tea in Fort William, we got back to Loch Ness at about 7 p.m., and I did my usual walk around the Foyers Beach. However, as I turned to walk along the river, I was arrested by an unusual sight. A large area of flattened reeds, italics, right beside the river Foyers. Is it Foyers? Yeah.
Foyer.
Sorry. Some obvious thought did go into my mind, but at first had to evaluate the situation and go through all the possibilities. Roland continued that it was tempting to conclude some massive weight had dropped on this vegetation and crushed them. They were horizontal and the stalks bent just above the soil. Certainly there are actually quite a few reports of the Nessies having been seen on land. Maybe this was another example. Now let's take a look at a very different beast. The startling encounter with a large flying creature, far bigger than anything officially known to exist today, occurred in the piney woods of East Texas in late 1964. The source of the story chose to remain anonymous, which is understandable, as not everyone in the world wants to know that they've been confronted by a monstrous bird. Nevertheless, it's a story that was studied carefully by cryptozoologist Ken Gerhard, another amazing guy. Ken was told by the witness that he'd seen a positively huge bird flying from south to north. It was approximately flying at a height of 150 feet, and I was able to observe its flight for a total of 1 minute or so before it disappeared into a cloud bank. Notably, as Ken states, on my first Bigfoot expedition there in September of 2002, I discovered an unusual large three-toed track, which I made a plaster cast of, and all those who studied the cast agreed that the track seemed to have a bird-like quality. After one expert proclaimed the track to be from an escaped emu, the tall flightless relative of the ostrich, I discarded the cast. In retrospect, I wish I had kept it. Huh.
Yeah.
I think you should have kept it too.
Yeah.
The world of the past had no shortage either, as the strange saga of what became known as the Linton worm makes very clear. A tale that dates back to the 1100s. It tells of a horrific man-eating giant worm-like beast that terrified the good folk of Linton, Roxenburgshire, which is located in the southern uplands of Scotland. According to the old tales, the Linton worm was somewhere between 10 and 12 feet in length. Good God. Which, if true, effectively rules out any known British animal, wild or domestic, as being the culprit. Rather oddly, so the old legend went, the huge worm had two homes. In part, it lived in the heart of Linton Loch, a small boggy area with the ideal place for a monster to hide. Its other dark abode was Linton Hill, which even today is referred to as the Worm's Den. Such is the enduring nature of the legend. Intriguingly, these ancient worms were said to leave behind them a kind of slime, not at all unlike what you might find behind a snail. And there might be a picture of it. If that's the case, that's horrible. That's like that King Kong movie. God, I hated that part. Did you see that Peter Jackson one?
No.
Oh God, there's a part where the guys fall down this spoiler alert for anybody that hasn't seen it. They fall down this like crevasse, and they get in the bottom, and all these big insects and creepy things like this come out, and they're like man-sized. And well, the insects are about the size of like poodles or toy poodles or something, but they're they got the big pinchers and stuff. But there's these worm things that kept coming up, and they. It's just gratuitously gross. It's just a gross part of the movie. It's like, oh God, of course the guys are like, they're dumping all their ammo. Then of course they run out of shells. It's like, oh no, and the things are still coming. But anyway, I won't get into it anymore. It's just gross. It says, although most Bigfoot tracks show 5 toes, that's not always the case. The late John Green, one of the key figures in the quest to solve the Bigfoot riddle, had his own thoughts on the particular issue. Admittedly, Green's words don't make the toe issues any clearer, but they're at least worth noting. Most show 5 toes, but about 20% of reports describe either 4 toes or 3 toes. Probably the proportion with less than 5 toes is not actually that great. The number of toes is often not mentioned in a footprint report, and it seems likely that when prints show 3 or 4 toes, that would usually be remarked on when 5 toes would be taken for granted.
Right.
Green offered the following too. If there were just 5-toed tracks and 3-toed tracks and each type was of consistent shape, I would accept that as a clear indication of 2 different species. Since there are 4-toed tracks as well, and the 3-toed kind are very inconsistent in shape, I don't think such a conclusion would help much. So, I mean, it's just a different discussion about tracks and stuff. I don't know. It's maybe not as comprehensive as I'd hoped, but still a cool article. What?
Yeah, when I saw that picture of that worm, I just thought of Mongolian death worms.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, that's kind of what that segment is like. I mean, it was. If you haven't seen it, I'd recommend seeing it just because it was a pretty creepy retelling of the King Kong tale. And I thought it was interesting and entertaining because I've always liked the big monster movies,
Right.
like Godzilla and King Kong. I used to eat them up as a kid, so for me it was fun, except for that part.
Gojira!
Gojira. That's right. But anyway, interesting nonetheless, folks. That's what we strive here on the portal. We strive for interesting.
Interesting. Well, that was interesting.
Well, that was interesting.
Was it from Satan?
The church lady. Are you going full church lady?
No,
Don?
never go full church lady.
Never full church lady. Just part church lady. That's interesting.
So somebody said you take those worms, you gather them up, and you go fishing for Nessie.
Yeah, there you go. Let's see. I want to find some more of Brent Swancer's. I mean, seriously, the guy is just my favorite, and it's well earned because I read a lot of this stuff all the time. But his articles, I find myself walking away learning so much. It's not just the fact that he's written a bunch, but they're so packed full of information and layers that I just walk away from every one thinking, wow. Oh, here we go.
Oh, that one sounds interesting.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, found another Brent Swancer here. Found us another dose of Brent Swancer. Again, definitely check him out on mysteriousuniverse.org. Just his work is so incredible. I don't know where he finds all this stuff, though. That's the part that really boggles my mind on.
Oh, well.
The guy goes 15 layers on this stuff. I can only find like one or two, maybe, and he's coming in with obscure reports that that match and have consistency, like the caves. I might have found one or two of those.
Right.
But he found a whole article worth several incredible reports. Got to wet my whistle doing all this reading in dry air. It wasn't my whistle. That was Don's, for the record. His whistle's already wet, apparently.
It's because I just took a drink, too.
Yeah. Did you have anything you wanted to read?
Well, no. I'm just kind of backing up things.
I didn't mean to hog everything. If you were,
No.
If you had something on deck.
Take it away, Brent.
And back to you. Thank you, Don. Well, today, more news.
We're going back to Brent again.
Coming today from mysteriousuniverse.org. Actually, it's not from today. It's from September 20th of this year. Haunted El Dorado Canyon and its mysterious hellhounds. Ladies and gentlemen, hellhounds is a creepy kind of thought. I don't really know what to make of them, other than they seem to be largely a spiritual being. I don't think that they are necessarily a cryptid.
Right.
I think that they're more of an omen or something of that nature, like they are a spiritual being more than they are physical. But they're creepy as hell.
Right. Titan asks if we can get Brent Swancer on the portal.
That's in the works, actually.
We're working on it, yeah.
We're definitely working on it, brother, but yeah.
There's such a time difference, though.
He's in Japan, and so that's the tough part.
Yeah.
Speaking of which, tomorrow morning we're going to be doing a special episode with Chris Dawson of the Irish Bigfoot Research Organization. He's going to come on, and we're going to start at 11 a.m., folks. So if you're not busy tomorrow morning at 11 a.m., join me. We're welcoming Brent Swanson, or Chris Dawson. Chris Dawson. Names. He's going to be joining me, and it's not necessarily about Bigfoot. He's going to talk about some of his Bigfoot stuff, but apparently he's had a load of other really interesting encounters with the paranormal. So we're going to talk to him about all the other things he's witnessed as well. So join us tomorrow morning, 11 a.m. I'm still going to do the night terrors. At least I think I am. I'm planning on doing the night terrors later in the day, but I'm still going to do the 2-hour 11 a.m. show. So that's kind of it's like a bonus show. Consider it a bonus show. We were going to do a 7 o'clock show last Friday, but he's like, wait, that's 3 a.m. my time. I'm like, oh, yeah, that's kind of not really convenient.
Kind of like trying to catch up with Kate on his show.
Right.
That's like 3 a.m. here.
I know. I feel so bad because that's definitely a show I'd love to watch all the time if I could, and to take part in, because Kate always does those call-in shows and even to the point of having everybody like call in as a group.
Right.
And having those discussions.
The Zooms,
the Zoom things.
I was on one of his Zooms, and I was on one of his campfires.
Yeah?
Yeah, it was pretty fun. Unfortunately, Kate wasn't on the Zoom that I was with, but there was like 6 or 7 folks there. It was pretty awesome, and most of them were Aussies, you know. So, and somebody asked me today, "Well, you know a lot of Aussies." I'm like, I know a lot of Aussies.
We do. We've got a lot of friends over there.
Yes, we do.
Australia's been really good to us too. I mean, as far as the podcast, Australia's our second biggest audience is in
we
Australia.
got to give them love.
Oh, for sure. They've given us all kinds of love. So thank you, all you from down under. We love you, no doubt about it. You guys have given us all kinds of love. So, but this is the haunted El Dorado Canyon and its mysterious hellhounds. So.
Tony says my ex-mother-in-law was a hellhound.
Yeah, that could be. Maybe she's a skinwalker. I don't know. The area of El Dorado Canyon in the U.S. state of Nevada has a long and colorful history. Originally home to the Paiute and Mojave tribes of the Native Americans, the area gained a reputation for being a land of vast reserves of gold, which is the main reason the Spanish conquistadors came pouring into the wild place and tried to conquer it. The Spanish were not ever able to find the legendary veins of gold that they had been looking for, but this would not stop people from trying well into the later centuries. By the mid-1800s, an influx of gold prospectors were finding their way into the region to pan the Colorado River, and with news of gold being found, the stream of prospectors increased. They would eventually hit upon the mother lode when, 1861, a substantial vein of gold called the Salvage Vein was found in the area. The mines began to pop up left and right, including the famous Tecate Cup mine? I don't know. I think that's how you'd say it.
Just go with it.
All right, dude. I try to pronounce it as well as I can. Tecate Cup Mine, owned by California Senator George Hearst, father of publishing magnate William Randolph Hearst. It has become known not only as a place full of history, but also one of its fair share of paranormal phenomena, not the least of which are its supposed phantom hellhounds. All of these miners, with greedy visions of striking it rich, elbowing for space on the same land, were bound to cause problems, and there were, with many of these men not exactly the most outstanding of citizens, including outlaws, Civil War deserters, and other various dregs of society. It was only natural that this would become somewhat of a lawless place, a den of villainy and with gunfight disputes and casual murder common, made all the more intense by rivalries forming between Northern and Southern sympathizers during the Civil War, as well as raids carried out by Native American tribes. It got so bad that even lawmen did not come here. But the rowdy miners were more or less left to their anarchist, lawless state to kill themselves, with the only real attempts to maintain peace being the occasional intrusions of federal troops coming in to break up the particularly nasty disputes. There would eventually be a military outpost permanently stationed here, if only to protect the heavy steamboat traffic that passed along the Colorado River. Yet even in the face of all this violence, many of the prominent mines were making money hand over fist, with the Taquiato mine, Taquiati Cup, alone producing more than $2.5 million worth of gold, silver, copper, and lead by the time it closed in 1945. 1945. That's a long run, though, for a mine.
It is.
And it's perhaps not surprising that with such turbulent history of conflict and death, there should be numerous ghost stories from the canyon, but among these are the strange tales of what seem to be demonic hounds that purportedly prowl the wilds here. There have been many accounts of snarling spectral canine apparitions here from among the long-abandoned mines and feral ghost towns. These are largely said to be the spirits of the ferocious dogs miners once used to protect their claims. Back in those days, everyone was stabbing each other in the back, looking to move in on claims, so the miners employed highly vicious dogs to guard the mines. Many of these dogs did not fare well, either shot by trespassers or simply left, abandoned to die, when the mines moved on after the gold had dried up. And it's thought that these animals remain as ghosts, still guarding the treasure that no longer exists. One such sighting of the hellhounds comes from the Shadowlands site, from a witness who claims to have gone to the area with his brother to investigate the claims of these apparitions and would not come away disappointed. The witness says, "For many years, people have come out of this canyon with tales of sightings, and in a very few instances, terrifying accounts of actually being attacked or chased by these alleged ghost dogs while exploring various different mining or town sites in the area. Curious as to the validity of such tales, my brother and I made the decision to do a little exploring of our own. On the first few excursions, we found nothing, as was expected. However, on the last adventure, we stumbled onto what we thought was just another anonymous shaft site. As we looked closer at the site, we noticed about an 8-foot severely weathered chain embedded into the rock wall at the entrance to the shaft. Well, curiosity got the best of both of us, and foolishly we entered the shaft. There we came upon the bones of what appeared to be those of a large dog. We decided to camp here as the day was coming slowly to its end, a decision that we would later come to regret. The still desert was closed in, and as we had dinner and relaxed around our small campfire, we heard what we assumed were coyotes yipping and calling off in the distance. The atmosphere became thick and very uneasy. We now felt that we were being watched from a very close distance, and what we thought was the nighttime breeze now sounded more like panting or breathing of large dogs in really close proximity. Then we heard the growling, grating, low, and hateful. The fall of paws on the desert sand now became apparent. They seemed to circle the campsite. We were surrounded. And that's when the scratching started. It came from the area where the chain was. That damn chain moved. It seemed to tug away from the rock wall, pulling harder and harder each time. We fumbled with our gear and stumbled onto our feet. My brother showed the flashlight at the chain, and there were scratch marks in the rock. Wow. Sorry, I'm not reading it very well. It's a white background, and then the black letters just screws in my eyes. There appeared to be blood stains on the wall, seemingly that were the unfortunate dog furiously clawing at the chain's base and the rock itself. The chain dropped, something brushed against my leg, and I struggled to keep my balance. My brother caught me, and we ran like hell towards the car. The fall of canine footsteps and wild panting chased us all the way. I've never run faster in all of my life. On the road heading out of the canyon, we were paced for a good 2 or 3 miles, at least by what seemed to be a pack of wild strays. We made it home, and I will never forget the terror of being chased by this pack of spectral hounds. Look at that picture. That's just terrible. Oh, man.
That reminds me of the story that Vic was telling us. You know, well, it wasn't a story. He was, I think he was using it as an example of some of these people who he talked to occasionally. That, you know, he was talking about, and I ran so fast and I stayed in front of it, and it was just a few feet behind me, and I outran a dog man. It's like, no, you didn't.
No, you didn't.
No, you didn't.
No, you didn't. No, that's for sure. I don't think, you know, even a human dog. Obviously, a human can't outrun a dog.
A human dog.
Or, you know, if
that'd be a dog,
living
man.
dog. Sorry, like a police canine, for instance.
Right.
You can't outrun them. You can't.
No, God,
you're not gonna like out sprint a canine. There's no way. And so if you look at it, if it's maybe supernatural, your chances go down exponentially.
Right.
Just a real dog, you can't outrun. So hell, you can outrun a poodle probably. Those things will just outrun you. And they got little nubs, you know. They got these little mini legs. But man, I don't know. Anybody that says he outran a dog he's full of it. That dog, if he did, that dog wasn't trying to really hurt him as much as get him the hell out.
Right. Yeah.
So another report of a sighting of these phantom hounds was given on the King Sasquatch Paranormal and Cryptozoology blog. The witness in this case says, "Has any of your team members ever heard about the hellhounds of El Dorado Canyon? I think I just seen one. I was with my buddies for a fun weekend at blank, setting up camp, and seen a ghost dog in our camp, and we spent the day on our dirt bikes and off-road trucks, four-wheeling until about 6. While cooking dinner, my buddy, Paul, said he seen a coyote crouching in a defensive stance. My other friends, Helen and Mike, said they hadn't seen a thing, and they were next to him. After the hot dogs were done and everybody was fed, we watered. We started a campfire to settle down before we went to bed for the day. And I'd say it was a good 9:15 when we all had seen a big shadow of a dog on the tent wall. Helen screamed, and when she did, the shadow disappeared. I came home today and looked up this animal, and it says it's called a hell dog, or of El Dorado Canyon.
Huh. I like how you read that. You kind of read that in a.
I went kind of southern, didn't I?
You went kind of like hillbilly.
Well, I'm just getting in touch with my roots, dog. In another report from the same site, a witness was on the Colorado River and supposedly saw one of the creatures actually hunting, suggesting that it could be more than just a ghost. The report reads, "This is posted for my son. About 12 years ago, my son and his wife were visiting, and for their third honeymoon." How many do they need? Oh, anyway. They rented an older boat and drifted along. Around 2 in the morning, my house phone rang off the hook, and my son frantically shouting that he'd just seen a mutant dog with a piercing howl attempting to catch a duck. He forwarded the details as a 4-foot mangy dog with terrifying overlapping teeth, and he said the dog failed to catch ducks and ran off hungry when they shined a flashlight onto the shore.
Wow.
Yeah, that's crazy. I don't know. Do ghosts eat, Don?
No, ghosts do not eat, Dawn.
Was this a spirit, a phantom, a cryptid of some sort, or just a misidentification of a stray dog? We're left to ask such questions in all these cases. Is this all just purely legend, or is there something more to all of this? If these hounds are real, then what are they, and what do they want? Why do they continue to remain tethered to this location? Whether there is anything to do with it, or if it is all just spooky legend, the hellhounds of El Dorado Canyon add a layer of weirdness to this historic place. What about skinwalkers? I mean, could some of these potentially be skinwalkers?
The story about the coyote could.
Yeah.
That definitely could be.
Right.
Maybe because nothing was really seen through the tent of that one.
Right.
It was just a shadow of.
Sure. Well, the one guy saw it, crouching down defensively.
Right. That was the coyote story. Yeah.
Right.
Oh,
but
that
was
was
all
the
joined.
same story. Yeah,
yeah.
that was the same story. Sorry.
So,
maybe.
Maybe sure.
Maybe sure.
I don't know. I think it's interesting because
Get your fireplace ash and your.
Yeah, exactly. Go into the fire pit, grab some ash and a shotgun shell.
Shotgun. You're good to go.
You should be fine. No, I think it's definitely a possibility, especially since it was Native American land.
Right.
That was kind of, obviously unceremoniously removed from them for the pursuit of gold and other wealth. But it's so tragic, and it stands to reason if the skinwalkers could be, I don't know, almost sentinels of a sort. Maybe not like sentinels, but sentinels anyway. I don't know. Maybe it could be. Seems that it would make sense to me. Let's get back to some lizard stuff.
Lizard stuff. We like lizard stuff.
We got some more Brent Swanser here. It's a Brent Swanser kind of night here on the portal tonight, ladies and gentlemen. But we always celebrate the man and his work and his great body of work. I feel like
commas are important in speech there, big guy.
Yeah, well,
his great body
of work.
Do ghosts eat Dawn? No. Commas are important.
There was a comma in that.
Okay.
Do ghosts eat Dawn?
I'm just
it's hard to
it's hard to speak a comma.
It's hard to elaborate a comma in speech, yeah. I just got to look at the time here. What are we at? 8:34. Yeah, we're fine.
8:34. Yeah, we're great.
This one it kind of ties into the cave one in terms of the lizard people. And this is another article by Brent Swanser, which I wanted to bring to the table because it does tie into the other one. We kind of discussed people witnessing the lizard-like people underground, and a lot of sources claim that the lizard people are here, and they do live subterraneanly. Mm-hmm. There's lots and lots of claims of this, so I don't know. I think there must be something to it, because again, it comes from a lot of varied reports, and there's several eyewitnesses to these lizard people. Mostly they're attributed to UFOs and stuff, but what if they're not? Mm-hmm. What if they're not? What if they're something else? Some other fauna of this earth that's basically just lives subterraneanly and avoids us.
Right.
I mean, there's the possibility that the Bigfoot is a hominid and not a spiritual entity, but is just flesh and blood, avoids us, possibly lives subterraneanly as well. Or at least has a presence subterraneanly. But what if there's other subterranean things that live here and avoid us? Seems like a lot of things avoid us, and there's got to be a good reason, because I think we've been pretty brutal in our pasts.
That's always the truth.
We kind of just decide we're going to take things, and then we do, and it's tragic. I'm certainly not advocating that by any measure, but I don't blame these things for avoiding us, I guess is what I'm trying to say. But let's see what this says. Surreal accounts of encounters with reptilian lizard men. Man, I think I'm going to try to blow this one up. It's really
Poof.
yanking on my vision to read the smaller font. Yeah. This should help. These are reports of mysterious monsters and creatures from every corner of the globe, encompassing weird things of various shapes and sizes, from Bigfoot to the Loch Ness Monster. Such reports are constant. Yet there are some that seem to veer off into the realm of the truly fantastical, and among these must surely be the numerous reports of what can only be described as reptilian humanoid beings. Such encounters really go beyond the world as we know it, truly embracing the far reaches of the fringe, and here we'll look at a selection of these weird accounts. A curious encounter supposedly happened in 1977 in the wilds near Henderson, Nevada, where a woman by the name of Cherry Hinkle lived with her 13-year-old son, Mark. On this day, Mark had gone out hiking with a friend and decided to explore one of the many caves in the area. Right? There we go. Within the murk below, they say they made their way into a circular chamber where they stumbled across a deeper hole down into sheer blackness that their flashlights could barely penetrate. They decided to make their way down through the hole using some branches as a makeshift ladder. Wow, that's some brave kids.
Yeah.
And they ventured down into more bizarreness. Hinkle would say of her son's encounter with an article for UFO Digest, the pit was roomy with a short annex. Occasional debris littered the rocky floor like a tin can or two. A battered teen magazine perched on a small outcrop of rock that served as a shelf. The boys explored the main cave and then turned their attention to the short tunnel or annex and heard the sounds of voices and maybe the distant humming of machines. Intrigued by the thought of they were mining nearby, the boys went deeper into the tunnel. On the far end, they found a rusty metal door, and near the door, a strange metal rod. The 1-foot rod was lightweight and resembled aluminum, with a cap on one end and a few strange engravings on one side. Startled, the boys heard the sound of guttural, harsh voices, talking, and the certain sound of approaching footsteps. The boys became frightened by the strange vocalizations and hightailed it to their makeshift ladder and headed up towards the entrance of the cave on the upper level. As they exited, they heard what sounded like the metal door opening, its old metal screeching, and they crawled out of the tunnel opening and ran away from the cave entrance. I wonder if they pulled up their ladder. Thinking they were safe, they breathed a sigh of relief. Without a warning, they heard a loud, threatening growl. Harry and Mark looked back at the cave entrance, and to their horrified eyes, they watched as a very large greenish humanoid struggled to force his big body out of the narrow cave. The boys screamed and started running down the slope of the hill, running top speed. They didn't look back until they were near my backyard. Look at that. Is that a depiction? Woof.
Wow.
That would wreck your whole day.
Yeah, that'd be terrifying.
They would show Cherry a strange rod-like object that they had brought back from the cave with them, which had strange symbols engraved on its side. It was smooth and metallic, and no one knew quite what to make of it. They would have gone to have it looked at by someone, but the strange creature from the cave seemed to have wanted his rod back. Hinkle would say of what happened later that night. It must have been around 2 a.m. when Mark shook me, whispering harshly that someone was trying to get into his bedroom window. I hoped it was just a nightmare or his nerves were on edge. Quietly, we slipped into his bedroom and listened to the sounds of scraping at the window ledge, and he was not mistaken. In the light of the moon, I could make out the silhouette, head, and shoulders of a man. I was alone with my 4 kids, no husband to protect us, so I grabbed my flashlight and suddenly tossed the curtains open to face the man. There was a glare from the flashlight on the window, but past the glare I could easily see a large head with ridges on top, other ridges on his cheekbones, and the glow of golden eyes. Mark and I stood unmoving. Both fear and shock kept us frozen. The lizard man didn't move either his hand still poised on in his attempt to pry the window open. His hand was large, with webbed, roughed, gnarly-looking fingers with powerful claws. After a couple of minutes, not seconds, but long agonized minutes with our hearts pounding, I knew I had to do something. One hand still holding the flashlight beam on his face, and my eyes still locked onto these golden eyes, I fumbled around in the dark with my other hand, groping to find something to use as a weapon is needed. He glanced at my hand, looked back into my eyes. He turned his head a little, as if he was asking a question. He slightly opened his lipless lips, displaying 4 of his pointed teeth, and suddenly he turned and ran off into the desert. Later in the morning, we decided the reason the lizard man was breaking in the house was to reclaim that metal rod. Mark and I hiked back to the cave and placed his strange rod beside the cave entrance. Wow. That's bizarre.
That's kind of what I thought, yeah.
Yeah,
that it
exactly.
came up to the house to get its rod, yeah.
Yeah. Another weird report of some sort of lizard humanoid comes to us from the site Cryptozoology News from a witness in Oklahoma City. The man claims to be a dispatcher and that on this evening he was driving on his way to work at around 4 a.m. when something very strange came creeping up out of the night in the form of a 3-foot-tall reptilian humanoid. The witness says of what happened, I was coming off a 2-lane into a 4-lane. On my side of the road there was a culvert. The being jumped up on the side of the road, standing on the curb, looked at me. It had large eyes and small pointed ears. Its eyes were orange with no glow when the headlights hit them. It had a small mouth with a nose similar to a cat. It had 3 toes curled over the edge of the curb with heels like a human. Extremely large thighs that matched the base of its tail. The tail was extremely long with the huge base tapering down to no bigger than a matchstick. The creature was flicking his tail, standing like an angry cat, but once it was on the move, it carried it straight out behind him. It looked as if it was calculating where it could make it across in front of me without getting hit. It made it to the center yellow line, then looked at me before sprinting off into the woods on the opposite side of the road. Wow. From Reddit user Dak Oh My, we have a report from July of 2016 when he and some friends were walking home from a party along a dark rural road at around 3 a.m., heading towards the home of his friend Cole. The witness describes the neighborhood as butting up against a vast swampy area and eerily dark and quiet at night. It is a place that makes them nervous every time they pass it. This particular report starts off as what appears to be a UFO sighting, but it gets much stranger as it goes on. The witness says, Cole noticed this green ball of light from the sky fall from the sky into the swampy side of the street. Cole described it as a beach ball that had a green neon light emanating from it. He thought maybe it was a shooting star, but it didn't have any fallout or anything. And it just glided into the trees without making a sound. The weird thing is, the rest of us didn't see it. We brushed it off and just kept walking. A few minutes later, we all heard this sound in the trees on the swampy side of the road. It sounded like something was rushing towards us, almost like a stampede, but once it reached the tree line and the fence, it just stopped. We stopped and looked at each other because at this point, we were all a little spooked and didn't know what to do. Well, as we started walking again, I happened to look into the trees, and I saw this creature just standing there watching us. It looked like it was over 7 feet tall, lanky, looked like it was covered in scales or some kind of rough skin. It had yellowish eyes. Well, I screamed, which of course made the guys look over, and they saw him too. The thing just kept staring at us, and it was super unnerving. We took off and didn't stop until we got to Cole's house. We shut all the blinds and locked everything up and couldn't sleep the rest of the night. We still don't know what we saw, and we never saw it again after that. We all named the creature the Lizard Man. We never walked down that road anymore. Even if we're at Cole's house, we drive down that road now. I don't blame you. What was this thing? Another encounter comes to us from National Cryptid Society from a witness called Kelly in Honey Grove, Texas. And she says on this evening she had to put her daughters to bed as usual and was lying down trying to fall asleep when her dog started snarling and growling in a very menacing way, as if they were very scared of something. Listening carefully, she could make out the snapping of twigs, and her first thought was that her daughter's pony had gotten out of its enclosure. However, it would turn out to be something far stranger. And the witness says, my eldest daughter had a Shetland pony, so in my mind, I just thought the Shetland pony had got loose. I got up out of bed and I went to the front door. My front door had 9 panes of glass in it. Right catty corner from me, 25 feet from me, was a street light. Very bright street light. What I saw walking across that street, I will never, ever forget. I saw a lizard standing on 2 feet with his back to me. It was just like looking at a chameleon. If you would blow it up 7 feet, and it was tall. Its tail was humongous. It had crossed the road. His tail was so long that it was halfway on the road, and it was still halfway in the road. He was gray, and I could see scales. His arms, for lack of a better word, went between his hip and his knees. He was just nonchalantly walking across the road right underneath the streetlight. Across the street from me were houses. Behind those houses was a sawmill. Well, I was in shock. I had never seen or experienced anything like this before in my life. My world was black and white with no gray. He never looked my way. I never left the house. It put me in shock. I was totally in shock that night. As a matter of fact, I didn't go to sleep for the rest of that night. I just stood there looking out. I was looking out my front door long before and long after he had passed beyond my field of vision. Wow. Look at that. I mean, could you imagine?
I wonder if he sources these pictures as well.
I don't know. I don't know if it does. I'm sure, maybe, probably. Who knows? But just as bizarre as another report from Cryptozoology News from a witness in Brownsville, Texas, who says that not only did he see a lizard man, but that it was inside of his grandmother's home, where he was staying at the time. Grandma? On this evening, he says that he was at home alone, as everyone else had gone out to a church service. And as he sat there watching television, he had the unshakable sense that there was a presence nearby. On one occasion, he peered down the hall after hearing a noise and was met with the sight of a scaly hand gripping the corner. He says of what happened, I had the kitchen light turned on, and the hallway along with the rest of the home was dark. The darkest area was the hallway. I saw it and closed my eyes and shook my head, only to see its hand still holding on to that corner. It was of blackish color and covered in scales. The fingertip nails looked almost like the ones from the alien from the movie Signs, when Mel Gibson goes to look at the bottom of the door to see what was on the other side, only to see something try to scratch him like that, but also darkish black. I waited for my family to come home to tell them what I witnessed. My family kind of mocked me and told me it was a demon messing with me for not going to church. I haven't seen it since, but the vibe I get when I'm at my grandmother's alone, it's still there. I do believe it was some sort of reptilian. I didn't have any friends in that neighborhood, so it wasn't a prank. No one was in that home but that thing and me. Really outlandish tale, although aren't they all, is from a psychotherapist and family counselor from the Claremont, California, by the name of Barbara Lamb, who also happens to be a prominent researcher of crop circles and also a regression therapist for past lives. She claims that one day a reptilian humanoid just seems to have randomly appeared in her house.
Wow.
What the hell, Don?
How does that happen? A reptilian human just randomly appears?
Yeah, it's like, is that a dimensional thing then? It's got to be, right?
Got to be.
Or is it alien? And is they just teleporting in? And why? You know what I mean, though? That's just strange. Because you think when you're in your house, that's your safe place.
Right.
This is my space. This is my
Right.
sacred space. What would you do if all of a sudden there's a 7-foot lizard guy in there? I mean, how many piles would you create in a hurry?
Well, I don't know because it runs in the genes.
It runs in the genes. Yeah, if you're going that route. How many genes would it run in, Don? That's what I'm wondering.
I don't know.
Although she is typically repulsed by lizards, snakes, and other reptiles, Lamb seems to have not been bothered by the 6-foot-tall lizard man
How?
just standing there in her home. I don't know. She would say in an interview with Vanity Fair magazine,
Wow.
I was walking through my home and there was standing this reptilian being. It was 3 p.m. I was alert and awake. I was startled. Somebody was there. He was radiating such a nice feeling.
Wow.
I went right over and put my hand out. He was taller than I, this close to me with yellowish reptile eyes. He said telepathically, "Ha, Barbara, good. Now you know that we are actually real. We do exist and have contacts with certain people." Then he was suddenly gone.
Wow.
Definitely alien. Definitely.
Yeah, definitely alien.
Reports of reptilian humanoids certainly have to take prize for some of the more bizarre types of encounters there are out there. What are we to make of these accounts? They don't seem to really fit into the mold of an undiscovered animal of some sort, especially the weirder of them. Are these some sort of spiritual phenomena, aliens, perhaps something else interdimensional in nature? Or is it just people messing around and putting out fake accounts? Could be. There's no way to really know, and in the meantime, these must remain firmly in the realm of the fringe. Boom, baby.
Wow.
That's just the weirdness, though. I mean, it's like, are they all extraterrestrial then? Are they interterrestrial? I mean, are they just something that's developed alongside of us? Are they hollow Earth? Are these the beings that reside in hollow Earth?
Well, and also, there's reports, supposedly, there's 2 different types of reptilians that inhabit the Earth with us. Supposedly, the larger draconian type are more of the alien, and the smaller ones are supposed to be more terrestrial.
Okay.
So, yeah, I mean, the hollow Earth theory and the alien theory both fit with that, into that scope. So, yeah, I mean, it could very well be, the larger they are, the more alien or extraterrestrial, and the smaller and more. And I've also read that the more terrestrial reptilians are also a lot more accommodating, more peaceful than.
See, now this is weird, but this thought just occurred to me. What if they're all extraterrestrial, but they're utilizing our Earth as like a nursery?
Oh.
Like maybe they're having their offspring here, growing them to a term, and then going out to the cosmos, doing their thing. What if this is just like a daycare or nursery?
A daycare, great.
You know what I mean, though? Like subterranean.
Yeah, no, that makes
so
sense.
like you got plenty of reptiles that bury their eggs.
Sure, yeah. Turtles,
alligators,
Yep.
turtles, snakes.
Yep.
So many of these reptiles bury their eggs. They come to term, and they'll nurse them and foster them and whatever. And then, of course, when they're born, actually, a lot of reptiles are actually very, very doting parents. Like alligators will run around with their babies in their mouth.
Right. Yeah.
Because babies get eaten by all the other alligators. So they're actually, for what we assume to be a simpler life form,
Yeah.
they're very cognizant of this well-being of their offspring.
Farm says
Earth terrarium
the
theory.
Earth terrarium theory.
Yeah.
Love it. Yeah.
It just occurred to
Why
me
not?
now.
Yeah. I mean, they have food sources.
Well, and what really struck me was when you said there's two the
Right.
bigger ones are the aliens and the smaller ones are here. Well, what if they're all the same thing? It's just that the smaller ones are kinder and nicer because
They're more innocent.
they aren't battle hardened from whatever's going on out
Battlefield Earth
Yeah.
style.
there. Yeah. I mean,
Wow.
is that possible? I think it might be. I don't know.
Did you know there's a Canadian on the phone?
I didn't. But we will get to this Canadian right now. All right, Mr. Canadian or Mrs. Canadian, welcome to the show. This is area code 236.
It's Kylie.
Oh, it's Kylie.
It's Kylie.
Hi, Kylie.
Hey guys, I love how you're calling me the Canadian.
The Canuck. How you doing? How's everything going?
I'm good. I'm good. I thought I would call in because I have a ghost story. I was talking to you on Facebook,
Yes.
Brent, about it earlier, and figure, I might as well just call in tonight
Absolutely.
and tell you if you want to hear it. I mean, it's a little bit off topic about what we're talking about, but
Welcome to
yeah,
the
you guys
portal.
want
We don't really have a plan, Kylie, so you'll always fit in. By all means, go ahead.
Okay, great. Okay, so this is a story that I forgot to tell you when we did our interview, but
Okay.
basically, I think 5 or 6 years ago, when my Oma, my grandma, was alive, she had a bunch of experiences in her apartment, and it was an apartment that was in Burnaby, in like Greater Vancouver area.
Okay.
And we kind of just chalked it up to her having dementia, because she would say some really messed up stuff, but she did also have dementia. So we discounted a lot of her experiences.
Okay.
But later on, when she had her dementia progressed, we had to put her into a home. And so the apartment was vacant. And I had an experience there where it was Christmas night. It was Christmas Eve night before the morning of Christmas. And I went into the apartment and I was staying there alone, like I just had a normal night. And the apartment was actually very close to where my mom was living. So I had this idea of, okay, I'm going to stay here at night, wake up in the morning, go see my mom in the morning, have Christmas, hurrah. So it made sense for me to be staying there in this empty place. But so I stayed there overnight, and the apartment had just this really weird feeling about it. And I remember waking up in the middle of the night, opening up my eyes, looking at the foot of the bed, not being able to see anything, but just knowing that there was something there that did not want me there.
Ooh.
And I felt so uncomfortable. So I called my mom. I didn't even bother to turn lights off or turn the heat off or anything. I just rushed out of the apartment and left and went to her place.
Wow.
And so later down the road, I found out that my Oma was telling stories of seeing a man without legs in a wheelchair in her apartment.
Oh.
And lo and behold, this apartment was actually an old funeral home.
Oh.
So whether we can attribute her stories to being part of her dementia, or whether they were really factual, if she was really experiencing it, I kind of think she was, because later when we had to clean out the entire apartment, my mom went in there, my sister went in there, and my sister would have things moving all around the apartment. Like one point in time, she'd set something down, it would, she'd look back and it would have moved across the apartment.
Oh, wow.
Or doors would swing open by themselves, or my mom had packed a bag full of giveaway stuff, and it was so heavy that she set it down outside of the apartment on this driveway that you can drive up to the doors of the apartment. So she set it down there, but it was so heavy she wanted to get her vehicle, drive up through the driveway, and open up her door and put it in there and not have to carry it. So by the time she set it down, she walked over to her car. She got into a car and drove her vehicle over to this area where she could pick up the bag that she had set down, but it was gone. And she looked all around and it was just not there. And so she drove a little bit outside of this area, looked back in her rear view mirror, and there's the bag. So she gets out of her vehicle, walks up to the bag. It hasn't been rifled through or anything. Like, nobody's taken it. There's no one around. It's just appeared out of nowhere.
Oh, wow.
So after that instant, she believed my experience of feeling just really uneasy by whatever was going on in that building. But yeah, it's an old funeral home.
Oh,
so kind of makes sense.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, that's so common. I don't know. Repurposing funeral homes into something else always feels like a bad idea to me, because there's always going to be something sticking around or hanging around. I don't know. That's a tough one. Oh,
I know, right?
Yeah.
I know, and like of all this space during that era of development, like you couldn't have just picked like just one story over, just one block or something.
Right.
They had to just take that area and make it right there. And say,
Right.
okay, old funeral home, be perfect for residential housing.
Oh,
Of course,
no.
it makes perfect sense.
Yeah, absolutely.
So yeah, I just thought I would share this weird story.
I appreciate that. Thank you so much. And by all means, if you think of any others, keep calling in. We love hearing from you.
Okay, sounds great. I'm
right.
glad you guys wanted to hear that.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
Take care, Kylie. Thank you so much.
All right, you're welcome. Thanks for having me.
Okay.
Bye.
Good night.
Bye. Wow. Yeah. Yeah.
Those old funeral homes,
Yeah.
anything to do with processing of like old morgues, old hospitals, all of those places that, I mean, there's something bound to just stick around.
Bound.
I mean, yeah, but I mean, it's, I don't know, maybe whether it's something about that's the final place and,
Right.
and people just aren't ready to make that transition or they can't accept it. So what do? They stick around. They stick around, and the poor grandma, she tried to tell people, hey, you know what I just saw? This is crazy. And everybody's like, oh, and I understand because my grandmother had dementia as well. And it's tough because, sometimes they're in deep left field and then they get this coherence and then they're way gone again. And you got to find them or try to find them. And just some of the strange things that they do say that, I can understand exactly where they're coming from because it just sounds, way out there. But, I think definitely knowing that it's an old funeral home, that definitely explains a lot. Yeah.
Yeah. And when she said that, it was like, oh, it just kind of falls into
it's
place.
just like the puzzle came together.
There you go. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So very, very cool. Wow. Thank you again, Kylie. We appreciate that. And any of you, if you have stories of things like that you want to share, we'd love to hear from you.
Oh, but it's 9:00.
And if you want to share your stories, if you have several of them to share, get in touch with me via email at paranormalportalradio@gmail.com. And you too could be a guest on the podcast. I'll interview you. We'll talk. I love doing it. So, but yeah, you're right, Don. We've made it. We made
Yep.
it. What time is it exactly?
It's it's 3 minutes after.
Perfect, because we started 5 minutes late. So
Yeah, exactly.
that kind of brings us full circle, ladies and gentlemen. That's 2 hours of fun. We hope you had fun while you were here. I know I had fun. So that, of course, is always wonderful. But thank you all for joining us. We obviously take a lot of pleasure doing these shows, and we love you all for being here and being a part of them. But Don, anything in closing?
Not anything specific. I do know that for the winners of our last the Halloween show, those shirts and things have shipped. They should be here soon, and we'll be getting those out to you as fast as we can.
As fast as we can.
And of course, don't forget we do have the Teespring store. And Kylie asked me to revamp one of the old
Original designs.
Yeah, the original design. Yeah,
Yep.
one of the original designs.
Have you done that?
I have not had a chance. No.
Okay.
But I have not forgotten either. And just odd that Kylie called, and then I mentioned it. So there you go. But otherwise, no. It's welcome to Wednesday. It's over for me, and there you go.
There you go, ladies and gentlemen. So that's all we got for you tonight. Again, special early episode tomorrow, 11 a.m. 2 hours with Chris and on the Paranormal Portal. It's going to be Chris Dawson, of course, from the Irish Bigfoot Research Organization, is going to join me and talk about his many paranormal experiences that he's had. So he's from Ireland, and there's lots of energy over there. There's lots and lots of spiritual energy over there across the pond. So can't wait to hear from him.
Yep.
And then I should be doing the Night Terrors as well at 7 p.m. Maybe, maybe not. I don't know. We'll see how I feel by the time that comes around. But it's going to be a busy day tomorrow. But anyway, love you all. Be good, be kind, be nice. Take care of each other. Help each other out. Find the magic in every day. And remember to laugh as much as you can, everybody. That's all I know. Don?
Good night.
Don says good night. That means good night.
Good night.
All right. Cue the credits, folks. The phones hung themselves.
Yeah, I know. Like, we're
by
done.
themselves.
Fuck 'em.
Yeah.
Screw it. We're done.
That's it, we're done. Hey, guys.
You've abused me enough tonight.